Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be reacting to
countries that would be the most screwed without their capitals.
what does that even mean?
You're about to find out.
Theoretically speaking, which countries on Earth would be the most screwed if you were to remove their capital city? Most countries' capitals tend to be their biggest, richest, and most influential.
Yeah, I guess they produce the most GDP. And not the most, all capitals I'm assuming produce the most, but such a significant amount that if you remove that, like the whole country collapses,
cities. This isn't always the case, however. For example, let's take Pakistan, whose capital city, Islamabad, has a population of around 1.2 million, which makes it a pretty big and important city. However, travel some 1,100 kilometers south and you'll arrive in the city described as the financial and industrial capital of the country, Karachi. Karachi has a population of some 15 million, making it one of the biggest cities on the planet. It is some 12 times more populated than its capital. Removing Islamabad would of course have some far-reaching negative effects, but as only around 0.5% of the population lives in the city, it's fair to say that removing Karachi would be far worse. The same can't be said.
Yeah, I think also about here in the States, if you remove DC, okay. It's like, okay, and like, New York would be much more devastating if you remove New York than DC, I feel like, because all the financial centers is in New York. DC is like cool, alright, no more White House,
Big for England/the UK, whose capital city is by far and away the most important in the country. London isn't just easily the most populated city in the country, but it's also the financial, political, and entertainment hub of the country. Removing London would be unbelievably catastrophic for the country. Now, it's hard to give
that creates a security issue.
What do you mean?
Because you have this information, okay, so if you want to really devastate a country, you would target...
Oh, what's target? Oh, but this is not... It's a public information that's...
I know, but that's kind of scary when you think about it. That's why they put, like... That's why you shouldn't put everything in one spot. You gotta...
No, you do have a point.
Exact figure, but estimates suggest that London's GDP is around 670 to 700 billion
because
US dollars.
Because how did they decide on the capital? How did it come to discover? Okay, this will be the capital. Because I think typically they say where they have all this stuff going further.
Historically, yeah, I think the capital was where, like the king or whoever resided, of the country. And yeah, the most important place in the country, it was the capital city, I think, historically.
Which means if it were its own independent country, it would rank as the 22nd richest on Earth in terms of economy size.
Wow.
That's a larger economy than Belgium, Sweden, or Argentina. Wow. Some 10 million or so people live in London.
Capital? So what's the point of knowing, okay, this is the capital, not just giving it just a city? Like, what's the point?
Maybe we need to do a video why countries have capitals.
Yeah, because you just give us more work to do, because I remember in school you waste time learning the capitals. For what? It's a city. It's a city. They're not going to get priority. What's the priority, huh?
I mean, capital, I guess, is where, the Congress of the country, Parliament, whatever it's called in that country resides, where the president lives. That's significance of it, where the foreign diplomats live. Although here in the States that's not the case. This country is so big that there's foreign diplomats in other cities too, so not necessarily here. But then, like,
what's the purpose of the capital?
I think where the president and the Congress is. I think that's what the capital city.
So in Lithuania,
it's in Vilnius, yes.
Oh,
yeah. I think that's how it is.
The UK would lose around 15% of its entire population. As mentioned earlier, London is also the political centre of the country. It is home to both Parliament and 10 Downing Street, where the Prime Minister resides. The 10 most visited tourist attractions in the country are all also found in London.
Wow.
4 of the country's 5 busiest airports, and 17 professional football teams, of which 7 are in the Premier League. I think you get the...
7 are in the Premier League from London? So guys, if you're from London, like, how do you know which team to root for? Based on your neighborhood, I guess?
Yeah.
Damn, 7
If you're an Essex girly.
London is the absolute heart and backbone of the United Kingdom. Without it, the country would be in astronomic turmoil.
Does this look centered? Let me see.
I can only imagine.
Put it a little more.
Like when I'm saying something silly, you play the video to move on.
The exact amount of city-states around the world is actually not universally agreed upon. However, the three that are generally accepted to definitely be city-states are Singapore, Vatican City, and Monaco. A city-state is essentially a small independent country that is made up entirely of a single city. It functions as its own sovereign entity with its own government and laws. Now, as they are basically made up out of just one city, which is also their de facto capital, removing them would therefore remove the entire country. Yes. So these three countries could be described as being the most screwed. Another country that would be completely and utterly screwed if it lost its capital is Japan. Tokyo's metro population is somewhere between 37 and 41 million, depending on your definition and boundaries. This is around a third of the entire country. Now, going by this figure, Tokyo is the world's most populous city. Some sources also claim it to be the
Kokowashi?
Cacao? Macau? What?
Right.
Kashiwa?
Oh, Kashiwa.
Kokowashi, what?
Because Kawashi
just two in terms of GDP, at somewhere between 1.5 and 2 trillion US dollars. With Japan's total GDP sitting at around 4.1 trillion, this means that Tokyo is responsible for maybe around 40% or so of the country's entire economy. Damn. Just like London, Tokyo is also the political center of the country. It is also arguably...
so I think the capital city is the capital because it is the political center of the country. I think it's about the politics. If it's not about that, if that's not the reason, then I cannot come up with another reason why capital city is the capital city. Because capital cities are not always the richest, the financial centers. So I think it has to be the politics. Aside from that,
that seems to be a security situation because that shouldn't be known.
Entertainment center too, although it does have cities like Osaka, which could give it a run for its money. The city is also home to Haneda Airport, which is by far the country's busiest. Let's switch it up a little and move away from gigantic powerhouse cities and move over to a more relaxed and chilled city, Reykjavik of Iceland. So today, Iceland's population is around 380,000. Of that, some 140,000 live in its capital, Reykjavik. This means that over a third of the entire country lives within this one city. So in removing it, you remove a significant chunk of the country's population. But is Iceland the country with the highest percentage of its population living in its capital, excluding city-states, of course? Well, no, not even close. You have the likes of Kuwait, where some 70% of the country lives in its capital, Kuwait City. Some 67% of the Bahamas lives in its capital, Nassau.
The video a little distracted the person. I feel like countries that would be the most screwed without, they have a list, this country, that. Now we start talking about Reykjavik, we jump to Kuwait, we jump to Bahamas, and we're gonna jump back to Reykjavik, I assume. A lot, like, this video feels like it's one of our reactions where we just randomly talk about stuff.
Don't insult me.
I'm just saying, like, because sometimes we go on some random tangent. This one just feels like I'm watching, we talk about Reykjavik and he goes on a tangent. I'm like, come on.
And just over half of Tuvalu lives in its
Because the reason I say that, because that video is pre-planned. Ours is not. Ours really what pops in the head, you kind of say it. That's the idea of the video reaction. You react to whatever you see on the screen. Just, he kind of had to plan it. And I'm saying it feels like he didn't plan it. He just kind of, I don't know, it just goes off random. I don't know. It feels like very disorganized.
Foodie. Alright, let's travel back to East Asia, where we'll find another country that will be completely screwed without its capital, South Korea. So at just under 52 million, South Korea is the 29th most populated country on Earth. Of that 52 million, around half live in the metropolitan region of its capital, Seoul. By this measurement, this makes Seoul the 4th most populated city on the planet. It is also one of the most densely populated...
4th most populated city on the planet? Wow. Really? Are you sure?
It seems like a little country.
But the titles are, the headlines or titles, whatever you call it, are cut off. So I'm not sure, but I believe it's about the 9 million live in Seoul.
Only 9?
But so how would that? Because are these the top 4 by population? New York is not there?
2, with some 16,000 people per kilometer.
16,000 people per kilometer. Where's this? He's reading this. Oh, this column right here, in the middle.
It is an absolute concrete jungle. Just like London, Seoul is the entertainment and financial hub of the country. Without it, the country would collapse. Now, the South Korean government knows this, hence why they are in the long-winded process of moving parts of their capital from Seoul to Sejong City further south, in order to relieve congestion, encourage investment in...
Yeah, New York population is 20 million.
Other regions, as well as move further away from its arch nemesis, North Korea. The South Korean government in 2002 proposed to move sections...
Oh, did he say capital city or city?
I think that would be the key word, since we are looking at capitals.
Oh, maybe he said cap. Oh, yeah, I think I probably misheard. Okay.
The government away from Seoul. Some governmental agencies have already moved there, with more planned over the coming decades. However, Sejong City is not going to replace Seoul. Seoul will still remain the country's official capital. Another country that will be screwed without its capital is Greece. Athens is the political, economic, and cultural heart of the country. Now, losing Athens wouldn't just be catastrophic to Greece, but also to humanity as well.
Yeah, a lot of history there. Like, if something happened to Athens, like a lot of history lost for the, as he said, for humanity.
The city is crucial for its ancient history, and it was also the birthplace of modern democracy. So losing the city and its historical importance would be detrimental for humans. History and
interesting discussion, hypothetical. What would the world be like without, if there was democracy didn't exist in?
I don't know. It would be Lord. I feel like there'd still be Lord of the. Lord of the Flies, the movie.
No.
Okay, so I think if you believe man in an island, and they have to fend for themselves, at some point there's going to be some sort of leader that's going to form. Yes. They're going to have some rules and structure and divide tasks so that they're able to survive.
No, I get all that, but it would be kind of more like a monarchy.
It really depends who's there.
But you see how we just went on a tangent?
It's not a tangent, this is related.
It's a tangent.
Culture aside, Athens is responsible for roughly a third of the country's entire GDP, as well as around a third of the country's entire population.
In Lord of the Flies... In Lord of the Flies, the person who had the glasses was important.
So because you have the glasses, you're important now?
And you know what they did?
Okay.
Because he was big, they stole his glasses.
Oh my God.
And they were done with him.
Now, although Rome isn't as significant in terms of GDP and population as Athens is to Greece, Rome is home to many incredible and important historic sites such as the Colosseum, the Trevi Fountains, and the Pantheon, some of the most iconic monuments on the planet. Actually, now that I think about it, losing Rome will be more disastrous than what I first thought, for a potentially rather bizarre reason. If we were to somehow make Rome and everything in it disappear, we could then potentially lose an entire country too, as the entire country of Vatican City is found completely within Rome. This would also mean we lose the headquarters of a religion, followed by some...
So we would lose the whole religion, basically.
1.3 billion people. Now, with South Africa being rather greedy, it doesn't have just one or even two capital cities, but three. So in this imaginary theoretical scenario, South Africa would lose all three of them. That is Cape Town, Pretoria, and Bloemfontein. Pretoria is the administrative capital. This is where the president and most government departments are based. Cape Town is the legislative capital. This is where the parliament meets and makes laws. And finally, Bloemfontein is the judicial capital, which is home to the highest court.
That makes sense to me because I don't think everything should be in one.
That's basically what you were just talking about. So that's very much your reasoning, yeah.
But I can understand if there's already government is behind because so much paperwork. I can imagine if things need to it'll take longer.
The country's legal matters. The reason why South Africa has three capitals is to try and balance power and represent different regions. So in this video, all three will therefore be removed, wiping out their second, fourth, and ninth most.
That don't make no sense to me. They're supposed to represent everybody, the people.
What?
Because they said they have them in different locations to represent different regions.
No, different branches of government. You know, there's judicial, legislative, so each different capital represents different. Courts meet in one city, Congress meets in another city, president resides in the third city.
I thought when they said regions, I thought that different cities are being represented.
No, he was talking about judicial branches. Not judicial, but the government branches.
take as big of a hit as, say, the UK with losing London, as its most populated city, Johannesburg, would survive, as it's not the capital. The city is also the country's economic hub. Around a third of the country's entire GDP comes from Joburg alone, as the city's GDP is around 130 billion US dollars. When it comes to cumulative wealth, Johannesburg actually holds the most on the entire continent. So, although losing the three capitals would be a significant blow, South Africa wouldn't be in the worst possible situation in this video. France and Paris tell an almost identical story to that of the UK and London. Paris is the financial, entertainment, political, population and tourist hub of the country. It is also home to the country's two busiest airports. What makes this situation...
That's why you see capitals are heavily protected. Like, there's security on security on security for this very reason. Because to me, it sounds scary.
Perhaps even worse than the UK's is that Paris often ranks as the most visited city on the planet. It is also home to two of the most visited tourist attractions on Earth, the Eiffel Tower and the Louvre Museum. The GDP of Paris is said to be upwards of $1 trillion US, which is nearly a third of the country's entire GDP. Wow. $1 trillion US would rank Paris as the 20th largest economy if it were its own country. That's a higher GDP than Switzerland or Poland. In terms of global cities, Paris is classed as an Alpha Plus city, the second highest classification possible. Only 2 cities on Earth are currently classified as Alpha Plus Plus, being New York City and London. And with New York City not being a capital, this could argue the case that London is the most important capital on Earth.
That's why what? Oh.
And that the UK would be the country who would be the most screwed without their capital. So as mentioned earlier in the video, pretty much every country would be screwed without their capital, some more than others. If you can think of...
I feel like the...
what on earth are the Baltics?
I feel like... T. I feel like, no one really thinks of DC as...
No, go ahead, finish it. Why do you speak so slow?
I'm processing my thoughts, so I'm sorry I'm stupid. So, that's why a lot of people, even me, like, growing up, you think New York is like, the United States represents New York. New York, New York, New York. Now, to see that it's in DC, that's interesting. I wonder how they decided on that.
Yeah, but he said almost every country would be screwed. I think the States wouldn't be screwed, I think.
Are you kidding me?
I don't think DC is that important. I think we're pretty well diversified that I don't think... Yeah, the political center is in DC, I get that, but financial center,
No, that's why they hit New York.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. New York
and
survived,
when they did that, they also went at the Pentagon too. National security. This video made me feel awkward. I don't know.
Okay.
Guys, of course, let us know your thoughts. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Join the Discord, and as always, share as much kindness as possible.